This meeting is being recorded.
All right, good morning, everyone. I have all these things popping up on my screen, sorry. Hi, everyone, happy weekend. I'm Melanie Mirzayan, the owner of Wild Bakes and Cakes. Thank you so much for joining me in this class. It's gonna be a fun class. Today, we're gonna work on ugly sweater cookies, sugar cookies, and holiday Christmas tree cookies. But instead of using traditional icing to decorate our cookies, we're actually going to use fondant, which is my favorite. It's like playing with edible Play-Doh. It's super fun. All right. There isn't a lot of steps that will go into making our cookies. If you guys are following along, obviously there is that baking time that we won't be able to do in the class. So I will show you guys how to get the dough ready, get it cut out with your cutters, and then you guys have to bake it. But I already have mine baked and ready to go, so I can show you guys how to make the decorations. And don't worry about if your cookies are not baked, you can still make the decorations and then kind of pop them on when they come back out of the oven. All right. So with that said, if you guys are ready, let's get started. Can we go? Thank you. You already know what to do. All right, guys. So let's go over all the stuff we're going to need for the class today. So these are the cookies. We will get back to those in a little bit. We do need our fondant to do our decoration. So for this class, I went with the typical holiday colors, your reds and greens, but obviously you guys can use whatever color you want to, so you're not stuck with these. You also need some sort of a stencil. Again, I went ahead and I got kind of the traditional looking holiday ones with like the reindeers and stars and that kind of stuff, but any kind of stencil works. And just a side note, once you guys learn this technique, this can apply to literally whatever you guys want to do with cookies. Okay, so this is just obviously themed for the holidays, but you guys can get super creative and come up with all kinds of fun stuff. All right, and for today we're going to use these cool Sweet Tooth Fairy gold kind of sparkles. They have the spray ones, which I really like because it doesn't get too messy. They also have the little tubes that you could dip in your gold dust essentially, and then use it for your project. Okay, so for today, I have the gold, I have the green, and I have the red. And just to show you guys, Michaels also carries a lot of different shades too. So again, this is where you're not stuck with the holiday colors. You can go crazy and have lots of fun with your cookies. And of course, we need our cutters. So I have the sweater cookie cutter, and I have my Christmas tree cookie cutter that we're going to use. And we need a brush and either a little bit of water, or sorry, I think my lighting is not the best today. So we need a little bit of water or even a little bit of vodka if you have it. You can use that too. All right. So we don't need a lot of stuff to do our cookies today, but definitely it'll be a few different steps. All right. So let's get started. Move all my stuff over. All right, and of course you need your main ingredient, your cookie dough, your sugar cookie dough. I did attach my recipe in the class handout, and I hope you guys were able to grab it and make it. But obviously, if you have your own recipe or you want to do something different, that's totally fine too. You're not, limited to just sugar cookies. Okay, so before we get started, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat, and Carrie will definitely pass them on to me. Okay, so anytime anything pops in your head or you need to see something, just let me know. All right. Okay, so let's get started. So if you have your cookie dough already made, we need to kind of get this rolled out. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on my working station here. so I can be able to roll this out. And I know the thickness of the cookie usually is kind of a preference. You don't want to go too thin and you don't want to go too thick. Okay, so I already made a couple. I can show you guys. So when I made mine, I kind of like them this thickness. Okay, but again, it's totally up to you. The thinner you do your cookies, the more crispier they will get and not as fluffy. All right, so I'm actually gonna separate this to make it easier. All right, so we're gonna roll this out. So we have a solid kind of space to start cutting our cookies. Okay, so I'm just gonna roll it out. Make sure we keep it even. I normally use a bigger roller than this. I just wanted to make sure, since I'm working with a smaller kind of area, I think this is fine. All right, so I'm gonna check my thickness. I think that's good for me. Okay, this side's a little bit thicker. Roll that out. And you want to get a big enough space where you have obviously room to cut things out, okay? So I'm going to start with my sweater cookie cutter and just going to try and cut away as many as I can. All right. So I got one. Maybe I can put that in this way. Get a few cut out. Okay, oops, got a little underarm happening here. Clean that up. Maybe I can squeeze in a tree in this corner. Let's see. I think so. So I'm going to get my Christmas tree cut out as well. These are going to be super cute. And of course, you kind of, start the process all over again. Roll out your cookie dough and just cut away. All right. So we have our cookies cut out. Depending on the recipe that you're using, the one that I attached in the class handout doesn't really require refrigeration or get the dough cool enough before you put it in the oven. So you can just pop these in the oven and, bake them. But some recipes require you have to put them back in the fridge. It has to be cold before it goes in the oven. So just kind of pay attention to that as well, okay? But if you have your cookies already cut out, now we are ready to bake them. All right. Obviously, I don't have that kind of time for the class. So I'm going to get myself cleaned up here a little bit, and then we're going to move on to the next phase, which is going to be making the decorations with the fondants, okay? But if you're following along, like I said, if you need to put your cookies in the oven, that's totally fine. You can come back, get your decorations ready, and then assemble them afterwards. All right. Any questions so far? I know this is super
Not so
simple.
far, it looks like, but if you guys have any questions, let us know in the chat.
Yeah. Just gonna take a couple seconds and clean my area up. And we'll get going. So you're still going to need your cutters for decorations, okay? So don't put those away yet. I love working with parchment paper because it's so easy to clean up. All right. So now this is where the fun begins. Now we need both of our fondants. And so I got these from Michael's. These are awesome because they're in small packages and they're perfect for kind of smaller projects that you work on, because you can use them up and then you don't have to worry about storing them. Okay. Sometimes you need a little bit more, and Michael's does sell the bigger tubs that you can get. And those are the ones that I normally get just because I have a lot of stuff that I work on. on daily basis. But one thing to keep in mind with these guys with fondant, they dry out very quickly. So if you're going to open them up and you have leftover, make sure you seal them up airtight. You know, if you can put them back in this wrapper and kind of like wrap it up really good and put some plastic wrapping over it, then put it in like a Ziploc bag just to make sure it doesn't dry out, because they do. And then you kind of, it just becomes a waste. Okay, so just a little side note on that. All right. And they do
Oh,
have different colors.
we do have a question here for you,
Yes.
Melanie. Where did you get the mat with the cake measurements?
This is also from Michaels. They have a few different options. They have one mat that doesn't have any of the measurements on there. It's great to set it up and on your work, you know, your working station and to work on. But I get this because it helps me, you know, when I'm rolling out fondants to cover the cakes and things like that. This is a good visual for me. But you guys can pick it up from Michaels as well. Also, I know in the last previous classes, I've had students ask about coloring fondant. You know, so if you have white fondants, can you use that to color instead of like buying the pre-colored ones? Absolutely. You can buy, they are baking, kind of like edible food coloring. And you have to make sure you pick up the one that's water-based, not oil-based, because oil-based, you typically use that to color your white chocolates to, you know, obviously get them different colors. But the regular food colorings are perfect for fondant. So you can essentially buy a big thing of white fondant and then take a piece of it and then obviously color it to the color that you want and kind of go from there. One thing to keep in mind though, the reds and the blacks are kind of hard to get the shade that you want. So I typically end up buying the pre-colored ones for the red and the black because you end up using so much color in there and you still sometimes don't get like the dark, deep reds, kind of like this one, or an actual like black color. Okay, so just something to keep in mind if you're going to color your fondant. Okay, so we have our red and we have our green. And these guys sometimes get sticky, so they stick on to the table. I'm gonna grab some shortening, vegetable shortening. These guys are perfect for kind of greasing up your working station. All you need is just a little bit. So when you're rolling out your fondants, it doesn't stick to the table, okay, or to your working surface area. Okay, so I'm gonna get all this open up and ready to go. I'm going to grease up my workstation as well, just because I can already tell it's gonna stick. All right. It's like buttering up a turkey or something. All right. So to get the cool kind of ugly sweater effect, what I do is I use both of these kind of next to each other and I roll it out as one piece. Okay. So I'm not going to do the entire patch just because I'm going to need some of my green to do the Christmas tree. So all you need is just a little piece of the green and little piece of the red. Okay. And you just kind of roll it out or play with it together. Put them next to each other. I'm going to get this out. Okay, just like that.
Another question for you, Melanie.
Yeah.
Do you find that the fondant dye gets on your hands really easily, or do you find that that's not much of a problem?
If fondant sticks to your hand, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, like the dye in the fondant.
Oh,
like the
yeah.
coloring?
It doesn't. If you buy the ones that are already pre-made, that it's usually not too bad. I hardly ever see any coloring going on my fingers, but if you're coloring the fondant yourself and you're using the little food coloring, yes, it gets everywhere. It stains your fingers forever. Believe me, I've done that. So for that, I do recommend wearing gloves when you're working with the fondant. Okay, but if you buy them already pre-made, I hardly ever have any problems with that. All right, so we have our two colors next to each other. So now we're gonna roll this out. All right, so you're just gonna roll it out, make sure they kind of stick together. And you wanna get it not too thin and not too thick, but thick enough where, let me see if I can show you guys, this is still too thick. So I'm gonna still keep going. Roll this out. And obviously you want to get big enough surface to be able to use your cutter. Okay. So I might have to pick this up gently and then go the other way just to get the surface that I need. All right. And again, you don't want to go paper thin and you don't want to keep it too thick either. All right. So let me see. I can work with that. So now you have two options and both options actually work. It's just a preference of your creativity and how you want your sweater to look. So either you can cut your sweater this way with the green and the red kind of on top of each other, or you can cut it this way and have it be split side to side. So it's just a preference, like I said, the look that you're going for. So I'm gonna try, maybe we'll do two different ones. I'll do one this way. So you just cut this out. Okay. And I'm going to do one the other way. Make sure I have enough space here.
And if folks don't have vegetable shortening, what would be a good alternative to that?
Um, Maybe butter. It's kind of the same concept. So if you have like room temperature butter, like I said, all you need is just a very little amount just to kind of grease up your surface. So I would probably use butter for that because it's the same consistency and it kind of does the same job, right? All right. So we have two different, oops, I messed up over here. My cutter didn't do a great job. That's all right. We'll make it work. There we go. So just gently remove all the excess. There we go. All right, so we have our sweater, this one here, and this one right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut our Christmas one as well before we start dressing them up, okay? Because I think it'll just be easier since we're gonna be using with glitter. I'm gonna make sure our surface kind of stays clean right now. All right, so for the tree, I'm just gonna go very traditional and do my green fondant for that. And it's the same thing, just roll it out. Again, we don't want it to be too thin. We don't want it to be too thick because too thin is just gonna fall apart and you'll have a hard time working with it. I guess I rather go a little bit thicker than thinner, if that makes any sense or helps kind of gauge what you guys should do. See, I think this is good enough. All right. So now I'm going to cut my tree. And there we go. All right. So this is where all the fun starts. move these guys down. Oops, this is kind of coming off. And you can always use your fingers just to kind of blend things in with the fondant. So if it's kind of separating, don't worry about it. Just kind of work gently with your fingers and kind of get them to blend a little bit better. All right. The heat from your fingers will kind of make that happen. All right. So now we need our stencils. Whatever stencil you have should work just fine. All right. And what we need to do is find kind of the pattern that you want to be on your piece and just lay it right on there. Okay, I think I'm gonna have my tree in the middle. Maybe I'll have my reindeers. Okay, I think this should be, let's move it down because I want to see more pattern. Once you find that perfect pattern ratio, I guess, just kind of gently press it down, not too hard on your fondant, okay, just to make sure it's nice and secure. All right, and you need your brush. And this is where if you have vodka or if you have water, all we're doing is kind of getting the holes a little bit moist. So when we spray our glitter, it actually sticks to our fondant, okay? You don't want to go too much. You don't want it to get all slushy and wet and slimy. We just want to do just a little bit, okay? And if you use vodka, the good thing about vodka is it evaporates. So it doesn't necessarily stay wet. Okay, so just kind of brush it on there where all the holes are, because that's where all the glitter will kind of stick to. Okay, so make sure you get it all just like that. All right. And now we're gonna spray with our glitter. Now obviously you can do whatever you want to do to make it look pretty, and it's all preference, but you don't want to necessarily spray your red on the red because you won't be able to see anything. I mean, it'll be kind of cool to have a little bit of a shimmer, but it would be a little bit pointless because it'll just blend in. Okay, so you want to go opposite colors. The gold one works really well on both colors. So essentially you can just use your gold spray for the entire piece, okay? But I think I'm going to do the gold on top for the green and maybe my green on top for the red, okay? And all you do with these guys is just you spray the pieces, the holes. All right, see how it's just kind of oozing out glitter. You want to make sure you cover it up nicely so you have a nice little pattern when you lift the stencil off. Okay, just like that. Hope you guys could see that. And again, with your brush, you can kind of go over it and make sure you don't want to do too much because your brush is already kind of wet. You just want to make sure you're kind of like spreading things to go inside the holes. Okay. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the top half with my gold. And I'm going to do the same thing, just spray and cover the holes. Just like that. And again, you don't want to put like tons on there, but you want to make sure it's got enough where once you lift the stencil, you have a good solid pattern showing through. Okay. So now I'm going to lift this gently. Just like that. And we have our very cool, ugly sweater, holiday sweater pattern ready to go. Okay. So the next thing that we need to do is cut cut it again, just because when we were working with it, it got kind of, stretched and moved around. And once you have your cookie already made, right? So this is my baked cookie ready to go. I want to make sure that it will fit nicely on top of it. Okay. So the goal is to cut it again, make sure we get like all the weird stuff from the sides out of there. Let's do it one more quick cut. Okay. We got these little, you see the little stuff, we're just going to lift those off. All right. And then gently get your fondant and place it on top of your cookie. All right. There we go. See how it fits so much nicer since we did our second cut. And again, just to make it look perfect, you can go around and fix the edges and make them look nice and straight and even. And then gently just pressure, with gentle pressure, squeeze the fondant to kind of stick to your cookie. I guess you could put a little bit of frosting underneath to make it stick better, but I've never had any problems doing it this way. All right. And just kind of go side by side. Make sure you're blending in the fondant into the cookie gently, just to make sure it sticks better. Okay. There we go. We have our holiday ugly sweater cookie designed and ready to go with fondant. How cute is that? All right, so we have 2 more to go. We're going to do the same thing here, but this time we chose to separate the color side to side. Again, it's just a preference, so it looks good either way. Let me clean up my mess a little bit. And just a side note, the glitter does get everywhere. Just have to clean up the surface. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use another stencil. Oh, that one, I'm not going to be able to see the entire thing. So I think I'm just going to go back to this one, but I'm going to move it up so I can see the reindeers maybe better. Okay. Same concept. Once you have it on your sweater, on your piece, again, with gentle pressure, you want to make sure your stencil is kind of in place. All right. And I'm going to use vodka again. You can do water, just be cautious with water, right? You don't want it to get too wet and slushy. And just cover the holes. Get the holes wet, because when you spray, that's what helps it stick better. Any questions so far, you guys? Anything, any comments? Let me know, or let Carrie know. All right. Okay, so I think I got it all covered. And now I'm going to use my red one on the green side and probably go back to my gold for the red side.
A couple questions for you, Melanie.
Yes.
So the liquid you're using is vodka, right?
The one I'm using is vodka, yeah, just because it evaporates quicker and it doesn't stay on there and make it kind of slimy and, sticky. So I prefer vodka over water, but if you don't have it, you can make water work.
And then those stencils, is that from Michael's?
Yes, it should have all been in the class kind of things to buy, but I didn't want to make it too specific just because there's so many different stencils especially for holidays. And I know Michael sells a whole bunch of them. So essentially, it's just whatever you like and whatever you want to use. I just went with like the traditional reindeers and like the little stars and the trees, but there's this one that has Santa sleigh, presents. Usually the packs will come with different, like whole bunch of different ones. So that's the cool thing about it. And you can pick what works. Any other questions?
Not so far.
Okay. I'm gonna adjust my light here. It looks kind of, sorry guys, this light is not working well for me. All right, I think that's a little bit better, yeah? Okay, so now we have our vodka in place, our stencil in place. Now we're gonna spray it. I'm gonna use my red and just spray the green area. Make sure I'm covering all the little holes just to make sure that my pattern comes out really nice. And sometimes you have to like squeeze it a lot. I don't know why some of them, they come out better. Like the red one is giving me a little bit of a challenge, but that's all right. Okay.
And can this glitter be used on royal icing instead of fondant?
Yeah, absolutely. You can use this on anything, obviously with the exception of buttercream, right? Because that'll just blend right in. But yeah, this could be used on anything. And like I said, they also have, like, if you don't, I like the spray better just because it's easier for me to work on projects like this. But you can also get the little containers where the kind of gold dust or whatever color it is, and you have to use a brush to kind of dip into the powder and then like put it all over your project. So it all depends on what you're working on. Okay. So see how the gold one just comes out nice and a lot and it covers better than the red one? Okay. All right, so I think this one is also done. I'm just gonna make sure my colors are gonna stay on there. So just gonna tap, tap very gently because we don't want to remove the glitter, right? Just want to make sure that it's gonna stick once we lift the stencil. Okay. My red one, I'm kind of disappointed. Well, let's see. All right. I'm going to lift it again very gently. Ta-da! This one came out really cute too. Let me see if I can have you guys see that close up. The nice shimmery glitter, but you can see kind of how the pattern doing the fondant side to side as opposed to up and down. It does give it a different look, but it still looks very cute. Okay, so now we have our cookie. And we're gonna give this guy one more cut just to make sure we get rid of all the weird side leftovers. Make sure it's like nicely even in there. Everything fits in your little cutter before you cut away, okay? Okay, just gonna cut the sides off. There we go. And again, gently lift and place it on your cookie. Good thing with fondant is you can't really mess up too much because you can always go back with your finger or some tools and fix it all up. All right, so I'm just gonna put it on my cookie. That looks very good. And gently work the fondant onto the cookie on the sides, just gently pressing it down and working the sides, blending it in. And make sure you're not obviously going over your patterns and messing it up. All right. So gentle taps, gentle blends on the side. Okay. There we go. This is our second cookie.
And then whenever you're ready to put the fondant onto the cookie, do you have to dampen the cookie for the fondant to stick?
No, you just put it right on your baked cookie. And like I said, gently, you need to push down the fondant, finding places that you don't have your pattern because you don't want to mess that up. So, just gently tapping it on there. And then from the sides, right? So this side, gently, you want to kind of blend in your fondant into your cookie. And that's what helps it stick. And we did the same thing here on this one. See, just gently, once you if you let the fondant sit long enough, it'll kind of dry out a little bit. So that's why it's better to put it on your cookie right when you cut it and decorate it. So that way you have that option of blending it in. It just makes it easier. Okay, so let's move on to our Christmas tree. Clean up my mess. Again, the glitter does stain things, just so you guys know. It's easy to clean it up, but it will get everywhere. Okay, so we have our Christmas tree, and we're just going to go ahead and use that same stencil on here. Okay, I'm just going to do that. That looks good. I like centering things in the middle. That's just how I like to do things. But again, it's totally up to you what works with what you got going on. Okay, so just gently tap it on there. Make sure it's stuck to your fondant. You don't want to push too hard. And I'm going to use my vodka again, just to kind of get it wet. Okay. So just get all the holes covered. Make sure they're wet, but you don't obviously, again, I know I keep repeating myself, but you don't want to put too much on there and get it all slimy. Okay, I think that's good enough. And now I think I might do red and gold. Maybe I'll try the green just to see what happens. I'll do a little bit, the bottom. I'm sure we're still going to get a cute little shimmer. Okay. Do the red in the middle. And my red, I'm not sure what's going on with my red. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to do my gold on top. So you can get very creative, do fun little things. You can even put little sprinkles on there, those little tiny candy sprinkles as well. You can decorate it however you want. This is just one way of doing it, right? So you can definitely get super creative with all this. Okay. I think I got all my stencil holes covered nicely here. I'm going to use my brush just to make sure things are in place. And again, I'm going very gently because I don't want to remove anything. All right. Just like that. I think that's good enough. And again, gently lifting your stencil off your fondant. There we go. Oh, you could still see kind of the green. It's very similar to the gold. Interesting. All right. And I'm going to cut it again. Same concept. You always want to go back the second time and recut whatever it is that you're working with. Just because, like I said, when you push down the stencil and you're doing all the things, you're kind of moving the fondant and stretching it and kind of getting it off its original shape just a little bit. So it's always a good idea just to go back and recut it and make sure everything looks good before you put it on your cookie. And there we go. And like I said, you can use your imagination and put a little candy star on top, little, candy balls around your fondant and make it look super cool. Okay, I have my baked cookie. It's ready to go. I'm going to put it right on top, just like that. Make sure everything looks good. And then I'm going to start pushing down the fondant. And I guess if you take your cookie out of the oven, not when it's, straight out of the oven and it's super hot, maybe if it's still a little bit warm, and then you put the fondant over your cookie, like cover it when your cookie's still a little bit warm, it will definitely slightly melt into it. So it might be a little bit easier just to get it on there, but don't put it on when it's super, super hot. Okay. So that might be another way to get the fondant on there and make sure it's like stuck on there. But this method works just fine too. All right, so I'm just going to squeeze everything down a little bit and then go from the sides and gently blend in my fondant into my cookie. Just like that. All right. There we go. I think I got it set right in there. So we have our, make sure you guys could see, but see how the green also kind of looks like the gold. So I guess you could technically use that too. And here's the side. All right, so there we go. We have our holiday sweaters and our holiday tree decorated with fondant and fun glitter. And again, you guys can buy all this from Michael's. They do have different colors and shades. So like I said, you're obviously not stuck doing the holiday version, but once you learn this technique, you can utilize this literally for everything else. If you have birthday parties coming up and you want to do different kind of cookies, um, just be very creative. All right. I would love to see what you guys come up with. So if you make these cookies or if you do something different with them, I would love to see what you guys do. So you can either, post it and make sure you tag me at Wild Bakes, or just send me a message and send me your pictures. I know my past students have done that, and I love seeing what you guys come up with. And if you have any questions, you can definitely reach me on my Instagram page, which is Wild Bakes. I normally post the upcoming classes there. I have the Michael's class link normally in the bio, so it's easy just to go there and sign up. So that's kind of one way to stay in touch. Okay.
We do
Do you
have
guys,
one question,
yes, I was going to
for
say,
you.
you guys have questions.
Awesome. So I know you mentioned earlier those like you can get, the sprays that you've been using today or like the individual little jars. With those, with the jars, can you add water and make like kind of like a paint, like a paste, or is it to only be used dry?
It all depends. If you are using it, so if you put for that, for sure, you're going to need vodka. You can't add water to do that. Okay. But if you buy the glitter version of this, this is the glitter, not really. You don't want to mix it with anything and have like a paste going on. It's just not going to work well. It's not going to come out as solid as you see it on the cookies, right? So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but they do have those little jars of kind of like gold. It's not glitter. They're foils, but powdered version of foils. And that one, you're kind of supposed to mix it with vodka, and a lot of people use that to paint their cakes. So if you cover your cake with fondant and you want to paint things on there, that's one way of doing it. And I've actually done that in the past. Maybe I'll go ahead and post some of those pictures on my Instagram page. So if you guys go back later on to today, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But for the glitter version, I wouldn't recommend mixing it with anything really. with the foil, the powdered foil ones, those absolutely. You can use them dry or mix them with vodka. I hope that kind of answered that question. Anything else, guys?
Not that I see right now.
All right. Well, I know this was a little bit of a shorter class, but I hope it was fun and entertaining and you guys learned something new. Like I said, I would love to see what you guys come up with. My next class for December, so it's going to be my last class of the year. And for that one, we are going to make really cool cupcakes utilizing ice cream cones to make Christmas trees on top. So it'll be more of like a 4D, 3D cupcakes. I will have the link posted on my Instagram page maybe later on today, and I will post a picture of what that's going to look like. So if you guys are interested, definitely sign up for that class. And like I said, that'll be my last class of the year, and then we'll jump right in next year with a lot of other cool stuff. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this class, and I hope you enjoy your weekend. And thank you for joining me today. Bye, everyone.